Our next presenter for the evening is Chris Mackenzie. Chris is a land artist and photographer who spends as much time as possible outside engaging with the land, feeling the bark on a tree, the pine needles on a summer forest floor, the deep cold of Mountain Creek water. All this while he's out enjoying hiking, snowshoeing, or kayaking. Since his pieces are seldom seen by anyone, photography is an ideal medium for sharing his work. In 2010, he received 7 honorable mentions from the International Photographic Association's worldwide competition. In addition to his art, Chris holds a PhD, lectures in sociology at UBC, and is a published academic author. He has just had an exhibition, Stones, Chestnuts, and Snow, at Port Moody's Blackberry Gallery, and a public installation, 8 Lines of Branches in 2 places, outside the gallery and Port Moody City Hall. Please welcome Chris Mackenzie.
Good evening, everybody. I was thinking about a question that I get sometimes in terms of, well, what inspires you to go out in the pouring rain and work with the land? And as I was doing these first 4 slides you're going to see are actually 8 lines in 2 places, and they're the ones outside the gallery in the City Hall. And when I was putting the Blackberry piece in, later in the morning as I was working away, one of the assistants for the gallery came out and she said, you know, as I came out of, as I'd gone off the bus this morning, and the bus stop was about a block away, she said, I could smell the forest. And I thought, really, that's the inspiration. That's what gets me out in the rain, is that smell of the forest. If you've been in the forest just after it's rained, and you stand around and you can see the water dripping off the old man's beard, and you can see the vibrant colors, and you can pick up a branch and you can feel a branch, and maybe it's an old branch, and it breaks in your hand. And it's very verdant, and it's fen, and it's just amazing to stand there, and you can't help but say, I need to engage in this. I need to get my hands dirty. I need to somehow relate to the environment around me. And most of the time when I'm working, the pieces nobody sees. It's largely a process of discovery. It's a matter of strapping on the snowshoes or just throwing the backpack on and you head off. And when you're hiking and wandering around, you're looking for a space. You're looking for somewhere that might be nice to spend a bit of time. And so it's that searching that becomes very interesting, because as you start to search, you start to look and you start to attend to the details. And what I started to realize, again, after some thinking about this, is one of 2 things happens. You either tend to discover a place that you would like to work with, or something in a place that's nice. Perhaps you hear the sound of a waterfall and you think, where is that coming from? And I'm going to go off and see if I can find that. You may find a branch, this precise branch that, in fact, is a full circle. It was off a tree. How it's a circle, I don't know. I'm sure it's something to do with the moss, but you need to work with that. So you can find a place, or sometimes you find materials. You find yourself on a beach and you think there are shells to work with. You may find branches or rocks and you think, I'll work with those. Sometimes you find materials and you take them with you and you think, I'll do something with those. I don't know what. Maybe you take chestnuts. I have a bucket of crow feathers right now that I have collected, and I know that I will do something with them. And when you get to the place, you start to make the piece, and eventually it comes to you. And the key component with doing the piece, with making it, is that you must attend to nature. If you fight nature, it will slap you. The rock will fall off the log. If you work with the nature, you may get something that makes you smile. that is nice to look at and feel. Because nature will always win. So if you want to make a circle, sometimes you can make a perfect circle. But that's more of a man-made artifact. Maybe you want to make a circle, but the bottom of the creek is rough. So you have more of a loop or an asymmetrical circle. The shape or the form or the line or the texture is ultimately determined by your environment. Now, that's not to say that you don't go out and engage and have a bit of a strategy. And certainly one of my strategies is simplicity. I want the piece to just work, to be on the edge of failure so that it teeters. There's the physical aspect. There's the moving of rocks. There's the throwing of shells or the throwing of leaves. And technically, those are very different things. Oyster shells are gorgeous to hold, but it turns out when you have 30 and you throw them up in the air, it's pretty heavy. Versus the leaves. That's not so heavy. But it's a challenge to get that right. There's the practical elements of things. Are you fighting the light? Is the water too deep? How long can you stay in the water? There's technical aspects. Neoprene, if you're in cold water, is a great friend. You couldn't do it otherwise. So I have nice neoprene booties, but the booties are soft on the bottom so I can feel the rocks. If you're out in the snow, you know the piece is temporary. This is one of the other key dimensions to the work, is that it won't last. It will disappear eventually. This is why the photography is good. Let's just document that and make an image of that. Because at the end of the day, the piece will disappear. Time, wind, it will always change. It will change while you're making it. So the photography allows me to capture a single moment. But the next moment, the piece may be different. Eventually, whether it's time, whether it's animals, I made a line of clamshells and went out the next evening, and a mink was knocking it off. But eventually, the sun will dry a wet rock. Thanks for your time.